Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Decatur at the Decatur Area Arts Council, the Madden Arts Center, where you may have seen objects like this before, but you probably haven't seen them demonstrated like this. This is an exhibit called Reclaim, Recycle, and Repurpose. And if you want to see how recycled materials can be used in new art, this is pretty revolutionary to some people, isn't it, Sue?
It's great. This is a huge trend among artists nowadays. And really, why would you go out and pay a bunch of money for a lot of materials when they're right in our midst? And you can save them from the dump.
Yeah, you can find them, but it takes an imagination.
Oh my goodness.
Because not everything is art-worthy, or you got to be able to see the possibilities, don't
Absolutely. Yeah. We've got 10 different artists in the exhibit, and they all use different materials in different ways.
It's remarkable. I asked you to point out a couple to me. Now, we should tell our audience during this program, we're going to meet 3 of these artists, and they're going to show us how they develop these old materials into new art. But I asked you to pick out a couple of examples that you thought were just stunning, and you knew right where to go, didn't you?
I did. Great stories, really. This right here is the work of Susan Natus. She's from the Chicago area, and she uses plastic bags. She was in a transitional time of her life, looking for something to be creative, and she had an abundance of plastic bags.
And Sue, these are these plastic bags that everybody has from the grocery store or any store they go to, these little flimsy plastic bags that blow all over the place, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And being a knitter, she saw the possibilities of knitting forms with these plastic bags. So she began to create these characters that she calls casts off. They are characters who are moving from one time in their life, will move on to another time in their life, as she was doing at that time. And it's cast off as a term that's used by knitters. Something is not actually finished until you cast it off, and it then has a new life, which is exactly what happens with these plastic bags.
Right, and it happens in our lives as well, doesn't it?
That's right.
But what's remarkable here, she actually can knit with this material, because, you know, it's this light little flimsy, you wouldn't think it'd be worth anything. But it's beautiful.
Well, you know, we carry really precious items, right, in those plastic bags all the time, so they're sturdier.
Or at least we think they are.
That's right, and that's exactly like our lives. We carry all these memories and what we think is really important, and then we cast off and move on to a new point in life, and thus the whole casting off concept is just such an interesting way she approaches.
You wanted to show me one other thing, and as we walk down one of the walls of the exhibit, I want to be able to get a look at some of this and also to ask you some questions about, there are 10 artists exhibiting in this exhibit.
And some use just paper, like Laura Wenstrom, just junk mail paper. Some use flea market finds, like this little statue of the tart here. Broken glass turned into mosaics, Stacy Sterenberg's mosaics.
Wow.
It is amazing how all these different materials are used.
This fellow, Larry, is it Agnello? Agnello, who has these 3 masks up on the wall. He had an experience, didn't he?
He did. He traveled to Africa, and what he found was that regardless of how poor the people were, they still had a need to create art. And they would find rusty nails and pieces of wire and whatever they could to create masks and other art forms. And it so inspired him that it has since really affected his artwork. And it is amazing, the old antique pieces that he finds and incorporates into his work. And I think it's really fascinating. You can almost see the African influence even in the masks.
Well, you've been really good to us to get 3 of the artists. They live in the area here today to discuss what they do, how they do it, and even bring in some of the materials that you wouldn't think are worth a dime.
That's right.
But they're worth a lot to them. So they're going to show us how they
treasure,
That's
right?
exactly right. So thank you, and we're going to visit with them.
Thank you.
Sam Tucker, I guess in Argenta you got some time on your hands, right, to build pterodactyls.
Sure.
This is one of a series, right?
There's a couple of them. This is one of the bigger ones.
A couple, but you've built pterodactyls before.
Yeah, it's
In
my
fact,
favorite.
It's your favorite, and you must be known for them because you can sell them before you even build them now, right?
Right, this one was sold before it was finished.
Well, introduce us to us. This is Debbie's dactyl, right?
This is Debbie's dactyl, and it was a Christmas present for her husband. And it's a wind directional, and it tilts, and the head turns as it's tilting. And it's made from all different kinds of parts, just laying around parts. It's got channel locks for arms. And
Rusty channel locks. Yeah, and talons. Look, he could pick up almost anything, couldn't he?
small animals are scared of it.
Go ahead and rotate him a little bit more for us so we can see how he works. Oh, he chirps too.
It does chirp.
Let's see if we can hear him
Now that's
chirp.
an added benefit from getting rusty. It's made on a hub for a mower at the local hardware store. That's what everything's based on. And it has a hay saw for a blade, or
and that's this back here, this
for the
tail.
tail.
Huh? Okay,
it's
that's
made out of
the
a
hay
hay
saw.
saw. And there's a sickle head for the head, and sockets for the eyes.
Sockets for the eyes.
And the wing comes off by pulling out this back pin here. So this comes off
It's heavy too, isn't it?
for easy maintenance. It is heavy.
Easy maintenance. It's like like you'd want to clean it up and keep it from getting rusty or something, right?
Well, it has brass bushings in this on a 1/4-inch rod, so it's probably not gonna, it's probably gonna last a long time.
And this is meant to be outdoors, right? Put
It
it
is.
outside, and the wind will take it. It'll be a wind directional.
It moves the flap, the wing flaps here move too. So when this wing goes up, these flaps go up to pull it back down. And when the wing
okay.
goes down, this flap also goes down to bring the wing back up, so it's
Ingenious.
self-correcting.
So yeah, so it doesn't just sit like this all day.
Right, it doesn't sit at an angle. It'll self-correct itself with the
Wow.
wind.
Wow.
And it moves quite a bit. I'm
And
surprised.
it probably scares, like, if you want to scare birds away. I mean, you know how people put owls out on their deck, you know, to keep pigeons and stuff away? Probably scares birds away.
It does. It's a good scarecrow. Put it by your garden.
That's terrific. And you've built, like you say, you've built some of these before. It's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Let's take a little walk to some of your
Okay.
other creations over here. You use a lot of found farm stuff, don't you? Let's start with
Yeah.
this one right here. This is called Digger.
This is called Digger because it's basically made with a post hole digger and a couple plow blades on the bottom here.
Okay, if you don't mind, can I touch it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the post hole digger, this would be where the handle comes out. It's
Right.
upside down.
It's upside down.
And then these would be the arms of the post hole digger that pull the dirt up.
Right.
Okay. And you say these are plow blades on the bottom.
Plow blades.
And what's on
And
the front?
Well, this is a wrench, I guess a wrench for a fire hydrant. That's what I've been told. But my uncle thinks it might be to an old combine. But it is old. I don't know. It is old because there's an awful lot of square nuts, and they haven't used square
They haven't
nuts in a
used
long
those
time. Even this is
A
square down
century or
here.
two, yeah.
So
And what
there's-
about the light?
The light is it's very hot, but it's a insulator, electrical insulator. It's pretty
But
common.
it's cool at night, isn't it?
It is neat at night because it reflects onto the wall in a narrow strip, and then the ceiling has a round reflection, so it looks pretty cool at night.
Yeah. Now this has no practical use of any kind. It's just to be admired, right? It's just something to be admired.
It just grabs your attention,
Yeah.
and you don't want it to fall on your foot.
Right. So that's what, well, you put it on a wooden block.
Yeah,
I
it's
noticed
pretty sturdy.
You used a saw blade, a really old saw blade, to mount it on, and you drilled holes in that. I bet that was a chore, wasn't it?
It was, even with a torch and using a drill bit, it was still hard to get through this old blade. And it's a pretty thin blade. It's less than a 1/16 of an inch thick, but it was hard to
They
get
made
through.
them tough, didn't they?
It was tough.
Okay, that's Digger. Let's take a look at Head on Wheels.
Head on wheels. This thing's interesting. It's got a little blade on the back that moves.
Okay, so it's a toy as well as a piece of art, huh?
It's a toy, yes. It has a brain.
It does. Okay, point out the brain, please. Point out the brain.
It does have a brain here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can see the nerves and everything come out of the brain. Okay. It has eyes too.
It does have eyes.
What are the eyes made of?
These are like old casters that they would put underneath furniture. And a lot of this stuff is from my uncle's farm, and a lot of it's from my dad's farm. All this stuff is old farm equipment.
A lot of wrenches. You like to use wrenches. They must have been tossing out a lot of wrenches.
We got a lot of wrenches.
Yeah. And you probably never throw anything away, do you?
No, I don't.
In fact, I asked you to bring a sample of the kind of stuff that you would, like if you felt inspired one day, you would say, well, I think I'll go out in the shed and see what I can find, right?
Well, this is an old shifter that I have to use for something, and it's out of a Volkswagen, and I might make an interactive piece with it, but this piece, you can't throw this away.
No, my goodness, no, that might be just the thing.
And then we found this, and it's an old light, and I think I might be able to get it to work, but it's like a really neat old lantern, and it might be good for a head or something. But
yeah, I wonder what that would have been used for, because that's a handle, right? It would have been used,
handle.
Maybe would have been a railroad light of some kind, maybe.
Yeah, it's just an old-fashioned light that is just dying to be made into something.
Yeah, that is cool.
It could be into another head like this.
I was going to say, you got a lot of head material. Yeah.
And then this, believe it or not, and I couldn't believe this actually was for rolls of tape. And look at that cutter
really,
on the end of
tape.
it. To cut tape.
All that to cut tape.
All of this.
Oh,
just to cut tape. So there's a lot of neat parts on here.
There are. You might cannibalize this one, because there's all kinds of interesting stuff. Look at all the sprockets and stuff that you could use.
I almost was going to put a rib cage on that one and put this inside the chest. This was almost going to be inside the chest, so I didn't quite get that far, but maybe the next one, that's where I will put this. And this piece here, I mean, how could you pass this up at an old antique shop? I mean, this thing's got to be. I almost thought about using it for teeth on this thing, but.
What in the world do you think it was used for?
I think it's a salad fork.
Oh my God.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah. Not very elegant. Not very elegant.
Now here, this could be another nose for one of these. And once again, it's got square nuts, so you know it must be pretty old to have square nuts on it. But, it could make another nice...
It sure could. It sure could, yeah.
Face profile.
Yeah, if you've got the imagination, that could be a nose, all right.
Now here's 2 pterodactyls.
Oh, yeah.
All I got to do is cut this off, and I got 2 more heads.
Or a two-headed pterodactyl.
Or a 2-headed pterodactyl.
Yeah.
I've thought of that.
Yeah, that's a real good idea. I like that. That minimizes some of your work that you need to do.
And the cool thing about this is you can still buy these.
Can you really?
As long as I live, I'll be able to get some pterodactyl heads.
One more. Show us one more.
This,
Ooh,
I was thinking of making wings with this. We put 2 of them and put it on a kinetic machine that moves, and then have a wind directional that has wings that move.
Yeah.
So I have one on each side.
Ooh, or if you had a big piece, you could have rib cage too. Put 2 of those in.
Oh yeah. This would make a nice rib cage.
Yeah. That'd take a big piece though. It'd be a big object. Sam, thank you for bringing all this junk in.
You're welcome.
It's not art yet. It's junk now. It's art later when it looks like that.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Holden Brown, as we look at popcorn popper, let's learn a little bit about you and how you got involved with using repurposed, recycled materials. Now, you're from Urbana, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And how long have you been making creations like this?
Really not very long, probably
Really?
about 2 years.
Is that right?
That's about all. Yeah, I've done a lot of small things at home. I started out with making custom aquariums, which is where this started from, was a custom aquariums.
It was going to be an aquarium, and you just
Just
work
changed.
better for something else.
It changed. I can't honestly tell you where I came up with the idea of popcorn, but it turned into a stove, and it turned into popcorn popping all over the place, and then you have the lid that's just popping off the top, and it turned out pretty fantastic. It really did.
And you had to, hanging that lid was no mean feat, was it?
No, that was a little skittery, to tell you the truth. Yeah, you were on a tall ladder over my head.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that was fun.
Okay, we're looking at the popper now. What's the body of the thing?
That is actually a stainless kitchen trash can.
Okay.
And I was going to use it for a base for a column aquarium, and it ended up with knobs from a Weber grill. And
those knobs actually work, don't they?
yes,
Go
they
ahead
do.
and-
It does turn on and off. There is a switch behind there. There is a light underneath the bottom for another switch.
Oh, okay.
These are table legs, which I have cut.
Oh.
And these down on the bottom are doorknobs.
Is that,
Those
you
are
use a
fake
lot of doorknobs, don't you?
Doorknobs. They
Yeah.
make little neat little feet.
Yes, they do.
This is a salad bowl. This is a burner from an old electric stove.
Sure.
This is actually a turntable for a cake mount, for a cake turtle that I
Right.
cut out the inside and made that out of that.
So you didn't really leave the kitchen for this one, did you?
No, this
you
stayed
got
in the
everything you need in the
kitchen,
kitchen.
yes, it
What
did.
about the handles here? What about these?
Those are just some old drawer
They're beautiful.
pulls
Okay,
that I had
again, from the
around.
kitchen, yeah. And okay, what are these, ceramic and glass, or what? These are cool.
Acrylic line that you can buy, and these are just wooden balls that I
Okay.
have sprayed, painted, and
And drilled holes in so
drilled
that you
holes in
could.
'em.
And that's one of them right there.
That's one of 'em right
okay,
there.
that's just what they look like before you drill them, and there you drilled a little hole in that one.
Yeah, they're just little wooden balls. Looks like popcorn,
It
doesn't it?
sure does, and I'll tell you, this is a strong, powerful machine because look at that power cord
Oh
you need.
yes, you had to have. It's got horsepower. It's got all that heat coming out there to pop the popcorn. So we had to have a big, giant cord.
Well, heck yes, because it's going to blow the lid off.
That's right. It's a garden hose, in case you didn't recognize that, with 220 volt fixtures. But it's just 110 volt. It's just two lights in there. Don't tell anybody.
Okay. Holden, you like to use light in your pieces, don't you?
Yes, I do. It adds an ambiance that's just awesome. It's so much fun. It makes everything Christmas.
It makes it come alive, doesn't
It
it? You
does.
call this one Super 5 because that's what this radio was called, right?
This is a 1924 tube radio that I bought just the frame. Everything else I built on. It was just the frame and it's just the front. And it's called Super 5 because it's an old vacuum tube which had 5 tubes in it. So it was pretty advanced for the age. But it's an old shortwave radio.
And it was built in Chicago, wasn't
It
it?
was by Chicago Radio Company. Yes, it was.
And so you got the frame and you used that, and then you built the wooden sides and the glass back onto it.
The glass is actually off of one of the cabinets. You've seen the china cabinets that have the curved
Yeah,
front. That's
yeah.
what that's from.
And doorknobs, again, you found doorknobs to put onto
These
it?
are
Little handles
door
from,
pulls. These are front suspension springs from an RC car.
a remote control.
Remote control car, yeah.
Okay.
They
And
were
you painted
colorful.
those?
No, they came that color.
Oh, so
They're-
you used that color in the rest of it too,
yes,
that green.
Yeah, the green was part of it.
Yeah, neat.
Yeah. And I put the motors in for the blocks, the acrylic blocks.
That's what the clear plastic is acrylic.
It's
Okay.
acrylic glass, yes it is.
And this can change colors, can't it?
It is changing colors right now. We've got a small remote, and the sensor is coming out right here, so we can change. We can
Okay.
change it to the red, to the orange. We can change it to, let's go
Change
to
it.
red,
Change it again.
Green.
Oh, now we're seeing it.
blue, pink.
Neat.
And we can make it into a disco so that it flashes.
Oh, okay. We've got a
Or we can
vibrating
do
radio.
just a real slow change.
And that's what you kind of keep it on, isn't it? So it
Yeah.
just goes from color to color.
goes
over
color
time,
to
yeah.
color.
And of course, you're going to have radio. You have to have a microphone too.
Oh, absolutely. This is an old microphone that this actually didn't ever transmit, but it fits the era very well.
It sure does.
Yes, it
sure
does.
It's just another thing to dust too. You got to be able to dust a lot of stuff. But you know what I love? I love having the mirror behind it because this way you don't have to have it to where you walk around it to see it. You can look right into the guts of it from one direction. It's really cool.
It's fun. It's just fun.
It is fun.
It is a lot of fun.
There's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there. Now, show us some of the, okay, I asked you to bring in some of the items that you might have at home that you would, oh, let's say, I want to get inspired today. What am I going to use? Let's look over here in this basket.
Well, this basket's got a variety of things. I really, truly don't know what this is. It's a magnifying lens, but you can use this, my Lord, you can use this for all kinds of things, especially if you light it up. These are, I've used these actually quite a bit. These are for curtain rods. I've used these for quite a bit for holding rods that I can put glass balls, other variety of things. I have no idea what this is.
I couldn't take a guess, but it's cool.
Yeah, it looks like something out of the Jetsons, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yeah.
It's real futuristic from the 50s. You're
yes,
right.
it is.
Yep.
And then we have a lot of people make a lot of things out of the old horns and the old horn pieces because they're shiny brass. They're really beautiful, shiny little brass doodads. Shock absorbers from those RC cars. I use, because there's a lot of color in these things. I use these quite a bit on some of my other pieces. I have little shock absorbers on them. We have aluminum pieces. We have more glass shelves. I drill through glass a lot for a lot of my tables. I do.
Is that a trick, or does it want to break on you?
Yes, it does. These are the bits that you would use to go through glass. They're they're the 4-piece bits, and it's
Can
real.
I feel that? I
Yes.
just want to see how sharp it is.
It's a real rough.
Oh, it's very sharp.
It's a water. It's a water drill. You have to have it with water at all times. I have broken pieces because I've gotten a little rough with it. So it's a real challenge. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to drill one hole.
Yeah, most of the stuff you do is not delicate, but when you're dealing with glass, it is.
It is, yes, very delicate.
Like you can tell, like this hunk of stuff here. There's nothing delicate about that. That looks like it came off of a rear panel of a pickup truck or something.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. It's aluminum. Sometimes these are steel, but I use a lot of these pieces because it makes it look really mechanical, industrial type.
And it shines, of course. You got to have it shine.
Shiny.
And if you move it, then
it's shiny. Yeah, it's an industrial look. We can use that for a variety of things. I've built a mailbox full of that because it doesn't corrode, unlike steel. It just doesn't corrode, so it's very wonderful.
Thank you. Well, John McDivitt, you live in Sullivan,
yes,
right? But you and the other artists we've talked to today have a collective in Tuscola.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you all sort of get a chance to bounce ideas off each other and get impressions of each other's art.
One of the benefits of a collective is the collaboration.
Yeah.
And we do work together on a lot of different projects.
Yeah.
Sure.
What we're going to see from you is very different from what we've seen. They use a lot of iron and mechanical stuff. You're a wood guy. You like wood.
My experience is in woodworking. I've done it forever. I've done traditional woodworking, cabinetry, furniture, that sort of thing. And I just wanted to do it a little bit differently. So I take that knowledge, that experience, and put it into the work I'm doing today.
And you apply it, if we look at this table, you apply it to what you call reclaimed woods. And you're careful not to change the character of the wood you use.
It depends on the piece. I usually let the material that's sitting in front of me dictate what to do with it. This particular piece, the materials I use were salvaged. A lot of them most of them are kept in the state I found them. It's a traditional construction. Wood is a traditional material. I just look for a different way of putting it together. And this is called patchwork coffee table. I like that because that's really what it feels like. When you look at it, it feels like patchwork. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, this is a large piece. Let's look at some of your smaller pieces because you've got a really nice variety of stuff on the wall over here. And if you would come over here and let's start on this end. Old shutters, I guess.
Actually, it's not at all. The finished product looks like a shutter. These are simply rips or cut-offs of salvaged, and this would be the waste material normally. These are actually 2x4s, anywhere up to 2x12s, and when they're cut down, you have this waste material that typically goes in the dumpster or in the landfill.
Yeah.
This is something I put together. The shutter aspect is just simply what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
And what it
Let's
made
make
me
something intriguing out of this old wood, right?
Exactly.
And again, was that the same case with this?
Pretty much. The first piece I did similar to this was, I called it Strata. This was a piece that I took scrap materials, simply on a horizontal and made a wall piece out of it. That became a series, and I've done dozens and dozens of those pieces.
And this is this is really cool because you used a different kind of objects in this one, didn't you?
Different kind of
This is
objects,
really interesting.
yes.
And this is called The Situation.
I have an appreciation for old denim, and I hate to see it go to waste, so I simply incorporated that into a strata piece.
You know, I have a belt that looks like this. I wish I had thought of that to do with it. You know what? Because I just don't know what to do. I can't throw it away, but I don't know what to do with it.
That is one of my problems. I can't throw things away,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I have to find a use.
Well, but it's also one of the advantages of having this kind of art inside you, because you find a use for things. And this is kind of interesting too, because this is called order and chaos, and I'd say it has a certain balance to it, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Those are obviously pieces that are cut off of materials that I use. The way I operate is I build large pieces of furniture, and as I go through that process building furniture, the pieces get smaller and smaller. I might start with a large dining table, and I work my way down to a coffee table. And I can build a series out of the same materials. Well, then you have all of this stuff left over that I can't bear to put in a landfill.
Yeah.
So I come up with creative uses for that.
Yeah. John, thank you.
Thank you.
Reclaim, Recycle, Repurpose remains up at the Madden Arts Center through February 26th. With another Illinois story in Decatur, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.